All right.
Busy week, man.
Busy week?
Mhm.
All right, everyone. We're back. Long time coming. We didn't get to our Super Bowl picks last week. I know I had stuff come up, and James, you never texted me back. So now we're just gonna recap the Super Bowl. I think you would have taken the Chiefs, and I already made my pick on my blog that it was the
I
49ers.
I did take the Chiefs. I ultimately, I think I said 27, 24, or something like that. I didn't expect it to end up being a double-digit win. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and especially so. Let's go ahead and get to it. Obviously, Kansas City Chiefs win their second Super Bowl, first one in 50 years. After trailing by 10 points with roughly 7.5
Seven
minutes
and a half
left,
minutes.
and score 21 unanswered. Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Craziness. 'Cause we were texting during the game, and it was 20-10, and I was kind
I
of,
thought it was over.
I remember you texting me ball game after that second interception
Yep.
by Mahomes, and I remember thinking, man, this is such a letdown. I thought this was going to be a high scoring affair,
Yep.
and it wasn't. And it still was a pretty underwhelming Super Bowl. I thought it might be one of the greatest games of all time.
It was nice, the last 7 minutes kind of made it from being like a terrible Super Bowl because
Yeah.
it wasn't really competitive before that, to be honest with you. But I agree. I thought it was a little lackluster compared to what I thought. But my biggest takeaway from that game is actually about the Chiefs, not the Niners. I think the Niners will probably go back next year, or at least be, knocking on the door. But the Chiefs scare the hell out of me, dude. Like, I don't know if you can beat that team. Like, I legitimately don't know if you could beat that team. Like,
I mean, as long as they have the core of Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, like it's hard to disagree with you. It really is.
dude, it's just like literally unstoppable. I mean, they're down. It's just like they're never out of it, and it's just like I don't know. I know that sounds like kind of corny, but it's just so true. It's like they're literally never out of the game. I mean, I don't know, man. There's no way you would. If you would have told me they were going to score 21 points in the fourth quarter the other night, I would have laughed in your face. Like, it's just crazy, man. I don't know where the hell it's all coming from.
Not just 21 points in the fourth quarter, 21 points in the last 7.5 minutes.
Exactly. I mean, it's honestly insane, dude. It really, really is. So, I don't know, man. I just see that being the future of the NFL, which is really scary, and a lot of other teams have catch up to do right now, man. In my opinion, I mean, a lot of these other teams have a lot of catch up to play because I don't know, man. It's just having the fastest guy in the league with the guy with the biggest arm with the best tight end there's literally no way to defend that.
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy that can take the top off the defense. You got a guy that can make plays in the middle of the field. You got a guy who can get them the ball. And then you kind of have two guys. I'm not sure how long they'll stick around. Mecole Hardman's going to be around for a while because he's still under contract. Sammy Watkins, I think, might be a guy you might have to shed because of Mahomes' extension that's coming, and we will get to that here. But, again, Watkins, though, is a guy that's kind of just move the chains kind of guy. Possession, I can just get it done. It's hard to defend. I honestly think just line up man-to-man and just take your chances. Like, that's your best.
Yeah, that's literally your – I mean, I think your best chance is just blitzing Mahomes. Now, obviously, that can –
Yeah, I would say, yeah, blitz and just line up man-to-man.
Yeah, I mean, it's – but, yeah, and man, Jimmy G disappointed me.
How many interceptions did he throw? Was it 2 or 3?
He threw 3, but and one of them wasn't like. Listen, I'm not one to be a
right
for interceptions, but like one dude, he literally had his eyes shut and he threw the ball in the air.
Yeah.
It was very Brett Favre-ish, and I just come on, man. Like it just, I feel like he has. A lot of people give me he's whatever in 5. He hasn't lost a lot of games, but I think Shanahan just makes it so easy on him, and then when structure breaks down, he just has a hard time making a play. In my opinion,
I completely agree.
Athletic. I heard, I keep hearing that he's athletic, and I just don't see it. And then I sat there, and I know your 40 time isn't, a measure of your athleticism, but dude, he ran a 4.9 like 5.4. Like he's not as athletic as I thought he was. I kept hearing it, so I think that sports media really does drive a lot of opinions that and people just hear it a million times and they'll think that's true, and it's just. I don't know. I don't know what he does well. What's he really good at? I really don't know because he's had McDaniels and Kyle Shanahan calling plays for him. So
I couldn't agree more with you. The whole 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, even the NFC Championship, all I heard was how great Jimmy Garoppolo is. And I've watched him. I watched him play Green Bay the first time around. He didn't do anything to beat Green Bay. I mean, like, either time, especially the second time, because he only threw the ball 8 times. But I watch him, good a defender in his face. He freaks out. He doesn't like pressure. And I didn't realize this. His numbers really weren't that great either. Before the NFC Championship, I looked it up. I think his numbers were like 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. That's a 2-to-1 ratio. That's the average. Like, he's average.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and you have to think, that's with Kyle Shanahan calling your plays. Granted, he didn't have elite pass catchers. He has a elite type.
I don't know. Debo Samuel's pretty damn good.
I agree, but I mean, they're all young and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I was kind of on the Jimmy G train, just watching from afar, not actually watching his games. But
I was on the train when he first got to San Francisco. I'm like, okay, this dude can do, make some plays, and he still can. But now I'm to the point where I think he's in that Jared Goff camp where he's a fine player. I think he can win a Super Bowl, but he's going to need a lot more around him probably to do it.
Exactly. And to be honest, I mean, to his credit, the Niners could have easily won that. I mean, I've seen people saying that they should. No,
it wasn't his fault either that they lost that game. It just
not
fell
at
apart.
all. But he definitely didn't help. But I don't know, man. I hear people saying that some people, obviously not a lot of people, because he just went to the Super Bowl his first year as a starter, but like saying they should lay off of him. I think they got him right about where you're going to have to. Like, I think they kind of lucked out. They're paying him $27 million a year.
That's cheap right now. Right now, that's cheap because
that's what I'm saying. So
the highest paid I think is around 34. Dak's going to get around that much, and I know Mahomes is going to get more than that. So
if Mahomes doesn't get 40, it's a travesty.
So let's go ahead and talk about that. We can get into some more of the Super Bowl later, but let's go ahead and talk about that now that we're on the subject. What do you think Mahomes' contract will be, his extension? Because it's almost certainly going to be done this offseason.
I would literally give that kid 7 years, first of all.
I don't think it'll be that much. I think those contracts are kind of done now.
And I would normally agree. He would, when that contract expired, he'd only be 30 years old, though. Because normally I wouldn't give out a 7-year contract.
I wouldn't hesitate to give him that contract, but I think just that kind of thinking is done.
I would say it's going to be somewhere around $6 million, $250 million, $200 million guaranteed.
My number is, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I think my realistic number is probably 200 over 5.
Which I could easily see. I was thinking, so I said 250 over. So we were very close. I just added an extra year. What do you think he's going to get guaranteed, though?
Oh, I think easily 175, maybe fully guaranteed.
They might give him the whole thing guaranteed. I was going to say, they might just say, here you go.
I think it's easily 175. Like I said, maybe fully guaranteed. I don't think it'll be quite that much, though. Well, it depends on the CBA. I think that also depends on the new CBA, which we can get into here in a little bit.
And the salary cap, and all of that, what they end up doing with Watkins and everything like that. But I think the literal floor is 5 years, $40 million, 200. So 200.
It's going to be $40 million. I mean, it's going to be $200 million. I mean, his only 2 years as a starter. I thought about this after the Super Bowl. MVP and a Super Bowl win. Only 2 years as a starter.
And could have easily been MVP this year if he didn't get hurt.
Yes.
Like, I don't think he would have won it technically, but he would have been right there. He would have had, 35 touchdowns?
If D Ford isn't offsides, that's probably another Super Bowl.
There is no doubt in my mind that the Chiefs would have absolutely dismantled the Rams in that Super Bowl. No doubt in my mind.
I'm still shocked New England won that game to this day.
Agreed. It was just, that was one of the worst football I've ever watched, let alone Super Bowl. I mean, that was just a terrible game. The Chiefs would have put up 45 points on that team.
So let's get back to the Super Bowl. So we got to touch up on this. Not back-to-back years. 2 Super Bowls now where Kyle Shanahan has had a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter and blown it. This time, though, I really don't think is as much on him. But as much as that 2016 Super Bowl 51 against New England, where it was 28-9, and he kept throwing the ball, and not running it. This time, he did run the ball a little bit. It wasn't as effective. What do you think?
He coaches not to lose late, man. And I know that's just like a cliche, dude, but he's like sitting there. I hear the announcers saying, they're like, yeah, he's afraid to put the ball in Jimmy G's hands. Like, man, you can't do that in the Super Bowl. Like, if you lose because your quarterback threw 4 fucking picks, that's on your quarterback, dude. You need to play to win the game. And I feel like he got up. You have the second best running team in the entire NFL, and you just took your foot off the pedal. The thing that I saw before halftime will haunt that man forever. Like, I honestly think that might haunt him more than the Falcons Super Bowl, because it's like, dude, you had all 3 of your timeouts in over a minute, and you basically just punted on it. Like, you basically were just like, we're going to go in the halftime top, like, and I'm fine with that. You can't do that against the Chiefs, dude. You saw they scored 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes. Like, it just, I don't know, man. He's, in my opinion, a top 5 coach in the entire NFL. I do think he is an elite coach, man. But the good news is that's stuff you can learn from. Clearly, I don't think he learned enough from the Falcons' loss, but I do, like you said, he did run a little more and things like that. But it's just, man, like, you got to coach the way Andy Reid did in that game. He went for it on 4th a bunch of times. He didn't kick the field goal. Like, that's
he went for it on 4th down at the goal line early in the game, and I remember being like, hats off to Andy Reid, man.
Yeah, you have to, dude. You can't, like, you can't sit there at the end of the day and be like, yo, if I went for it on 4th, we might have won that game. And just always wonder that. If you go for it, you don't get it, like, you lost. I mean, someone has to lose the game, but I'd rather go out, like, throwing haymakers. Just, that's how I feel. And I just feel like he didn't. I mean, Andy Reid at that point was like, dude, I'm winning the Super Bowl. Like, I have to. This might cement me as a top 6 or 7 coach of all time if I could just get this ring. And that's how he coached that game. He kept putting – I mean, obviously you're not going to take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand, but think about it. The first half of that game, Damian Williams is eating, and Patrick Mahomes is not eating. So it's like you thought at the end of that game he could have just been like, listen, Damian Williams is eating for us. Patrick Mahomes isn't playing well. He's stuck with Patrick Mahomes.
That thought never crossed my mind. You have got to put the ball in your playmaker's hand. And the playmaker's Mahomes.
I feel like Shanahan. Now, obviously, Jimmy G is no Mahomes, but I feel like Shanahan did that. As soon as he started not playing that well, he took the ball out of his hands. He started running more, doing very safe passes and stuff. I just don't know, man. I don't like the way they played. I mean, I don't know. I was very, very disappointed because I genuinely thought the Niners were going to bring back some old school football, and I was hype about it. Like D-line, running the ball, smash mouth. Just, I don't know, man. Like I said, the Chiefs winning that game scared the hell out of me because they, like you said, I think they easily could have went back to back, and now we're sitting here looking at a team with a 23-year-old quarterback who's going to be on that team and elite for at least another decade. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, if they can just keep it, Andy Reid is one of the best drafting coaches ever. Like, that man can draft his ass off. So he's going to keep hitting on offensive players. I don't know, man. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they won again next year. I don't think they will.
I don't think so either. It depends on this extension because then you're going to have to make some cap decisions and get rid of some guys. But I texted you this. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Super Bowl Sunday or the day after, but Shanahan just strikes me as a guy who thinks he's smarter than probably he really is.
See, and I think that comes from, again, man, I think sports media, like, honestly influences so much in actual sports, and I think that's one of them, that he probably was drinking his own Kool-Aid a little bit.
I think so.
I think that, but you're right, man. Simplicity wins in the NFL. Like, don't get me wrong, you can't just run, dive plays every time and simple like pass patterns, but you can't outsmart yourself either, man. You are a team that can run their ass off and they can't stop the run, and you're just, I don't know, man. I didn't like their game plan late in the game. Like, they had a great game plan coming out. They played amazing. D-line was playing very, very well. They weren't necessarily getting home as much, but they were moving him off his spot.
No, I'll say this. I thought the game was going to come down to Kansas City's offensive line against their defensive front, and they did not have an answer for the majority of the game. I remember tweeting at one point, I was like, I think Kansas City, after this game, you got to address the O-line if you really want to win. And then they did a better job. They got the ball in some playmakers' hands. Then they found Tyreek Hill, and that play really put San Francisco's defense on their heels. They couldn't figure it out.
And can we finally put it, like, I'm sorry, man, I have a lot of respect for Richard Sherman, but the Darrelle Revis-Richard Sherman beef, like, come on, dude. You aren't even close to as good as Darrelle Revis. He's not, dude. No. You're not. You're a Hall of Famer.
He was, honestly, he was never, I don't want to say he was overrated. I think he's one of the all-time best at just pressing at the line of scrimmage. He's 6'3", 200-some pounds, and going up against a receiver who's probably not that big, and he would just dominate them at the line of scrimmage. They couldn't get off the ball, and a quarterback has 3 to 4 seconds to get rid of the ball, and if you just take control at the line of scrimmage, they're not going to get open. So that's what he's good at. But if you get behind him, he's never been fast enough to catch up.
See, this is the thing about Richard Sherman, though. He is, and there's nothing wrong with this, but he's a system quarterback, and he is elite in that system. When he can play 3-deep zone, and he has, and he can play kind of like in space instead of trying to run with somebody, he's fine. Like, Revis got to do what Richard Sherman does. Darrelle Revis would probably allow like 3 passes in a season all time. He just got
Darrelle Revis is way better. I mean, he would follow dudes all over the field. He was fast enough to, keep with them down the field.
Let me ask you this, Shane, because me and Artis, I thought it was a really good
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that. How is Artis doing? How's he been this week?
He's high.
I'm sure he is. For those that are listening, Artis is James's really good friends and one of my friends from college, and he's a big Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Yep.
I was thinking of him this whole week, how he was handling it.
So this is what came up, and I honestly, I was very pressed to say Darrelle Revis. Who is the best defensive player of our generation, in your opinion? Like, I'd say like 2000 to 2015. I said it was either Ed Reed,
okay,
Darrelle Revis, or J.J. Watt. That was my 3 picks. And I think you can make a really good argument for all of them, but I was just curious as to what you
I could see those. I would think maybe Julius Peppers.
Yeah. Very consistent.
Or maybe Charles Woodson as well. But
Charles Woodson is in there. And there's a lot of arguments you can make, and that's such a big time frame that it's hard, because I'm sure there's a couple people from the really early 2000s I'm forgetting. I think Troy Polamalu's in there.
Yeah,
yeah. Players like that. But the reason I brought that up is because I think you can make a very legitimate argument that Darrelle Revis is the best defensive player that I've seen, like, live, basically, like, since I've been really watching football.
He's kind of like Aaron Rodgers. When he was at his peak, there was no one that could, there's no one that could figure him out.
And this is the thing, it's hard to, like, measure how good a cornerback is, because if a cornerback's really good, they don't even throw to you. So it's like, it's really hard. It's like, oh, well, Darrelle Revis only had 2 picks that year, but it's like, yeah, dude, but if you actually watch the Jets, he allowed like 4 catches the whole damn year. Like, so I know, man. Like, I don't know. I just thought that was a really good question. I wanted to ask you that.
Back to Richard Sherman. I think you really. I don't know what you think. I think if you're San Francisco, you really go into this offseason because they have some free agents in the secondary. I think Sherman's a free agent next year. Do you go into this offseason and go ahead and just say, you know what? Let's just tear it down and rebuild in the back end of that defense.
I think that they were.
Because I don't think Sherman has it anymore. I really don't.
I don't either. But I think that they were so close. I honestly think they try to run it back the best.
I think you re-signed some of the safeties that they have. Jimmy Ward, Jaquaski Tart. Those are 2 really good safeties. But I think at corner, I think you kind of try to strip it down and maybe get some other guys.
That wouldn't surprise me if they were like, yeah, we're going to go corner first round and cut Richard Sherman. But Richard Sherman also has a super incentivized deal. So it's like. Yeah. We're only got to really pay him a lot of money if he plays really well, and if that's the case, we're fine with that. Like they did this year. I mean, he ended up being an All-Pro, so they had to pay him an extra like $5 million. But believe me, if we're going to get All-Pro numbers out of you, then I have no problem doing that at all.
No, I don't either. But I just don't think he's that player anymore. I don't even.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, what's his name? Devontae Adams made him look like an idiot in that NFC Championship game.
Dude, he got absolutely burnt by. Was it Deebo Samuel? It was somebody that wasn't that good. I mean, dude,
Sammy Watkins was who burned him on the game-winning drive.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, I don't know, man.
And Sammy Watkins is fine, but come on.
Yeah. Like, that's a player you should be able to defend. That's for sure. It's at least in that spot. You know what I mean?
If it were Tyreek Hill, that's a different story. Dude's the fastest man alive, probably.
Exactly. That's a great point. And Sammy Watkins is fast, but I mean, he's had foot problems. He's big. So you can really jam him a little bit. Dude, imagine trying to jam Tyreek Hill. Like, you might not touch him. Like,
you can't.
You probably can't touch him.
No.
So.
Anything? Do we cover all the bases?
Give a little shout out to Damian Williams. That boy balled. He balled his ass off.
I'll say this. I think his numbers are a little inflated because of that last touchdown run.
Yeah, that's true. But I also want to say, and it kind of was disappointing, dude, the Chiefs parade was terrible.
Was it? I didn't see.
Not that many people there. Like, it just was, like, they had, like, big-name people riding around in, like, golf carts and shit. It just was, like, very, like, low budget. Like, it was like the Bengals won a Super Bowl. Like,
I'll say this. I think the parades should be later in the week, like on a Friday.
I agree, but, dude, when I went to, and obviously, you know, it's Philly, but, like, I went to the Eagles parade, dude. There was...
Uh-oh, you cut out.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. I had something else. Oh, that baseball trade I wanted to touch on too.
Oh, okay, Mookie. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Mookie Betts.
Dodgers are I didn't even want to
Fuck the Dodgers. That's all I gotta say. Fuck the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers. Well, hey, it might not go through. It might not go through.
Yeah, because isn't someone like in arbitration right now that they have to pass or something like that?
That and one of the prospects, I think, going to Boston didn't clear a physical.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because me and my buddy were talking about it today.
I've seen something about arbitration come up too. I don't know who's involved.
There's one player in arbitration. I know, like, the Eagles are trying to get Chris Bryant. He's in arbitration too, but
Eagles? You mean the Phillies?
What'd you say?
Phillies.
What about them?
You said the Eagles. You meant the Phillies.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's all I care about is the Eagles, sadly. I'm not even a baseball fan anymore. It breaks my heart.
Well, Bryce Harper. I've always been a Bryce Harper fan, but I think he's ruined the Phillies.
I mean, dude, he's probably coasting at this point.
Probably. Who knows? I'm trying to think of any other Super Bowl. Oh, halftime show. What do you think?
Loved it.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it.
All obviously they're both like super hot women, but like that aside, like I actually thought it was like a pretty good performance.
I was very entertained and I was very aroused, to say the least.
Yeah, and yeah, dude. I mean, I would legitimately say that was one of the better ones that I've seen. I would definitely say that.
I really don't know which one I would say is the best.
I remember Prince had a really, really good one.
That was before I knew who Prince was, but yeah.
The Rolling Stones had a really good one. I mean,
I don't even.
One of the better. Put it this way, I was actually entertained, and I feel like I'm usually not.
I remember when Green Bay. Granted, I was a nervous wreck that whole game, but Green Bay's was the Black Eyed Peas, and I thought it was miserable. I thought it was horrible.
That's what I'm saying, because it's just like, dude, nobody there is trying to see the concert. Like, it's football.
It's different when I think your team's involved because you really don't give a shit. You're like, put them back out on the field. I need this game to be over. I don't even remember who the Eagles and Pats were.
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
XFL starts tomorrow. Are you gonna watch?
Yes, I'm officially a DC Defender fan.
Are you really? Okay, well that's just down the road from you.
That's the closest team to me, so I can actually like go see them if they end up being sick. So.
I don't know. I'm leaning New York Guardians just because I think they have a sweet logo.
Some of the logos were cool, and some of them have some really cool names too. Like, one team's like the Vipers. Like,
yeah, it's the Tampa Bay Vipers. It's DC Defenders, New York Guardians, Houston Roughnecks, Dallas Renegades, LA Wildcats, Seattle Dragons, and
a kid that I used to play TV football with is in Delaware when I was 9 years old.
St. Louis Battlehawks. That's the other one.
Maybe, but his name's Jarrell Presley.
You gonna give him a shout out?
I mean, he probably barely remember. I haven't talked to the kid since I was probably 9 years old, but I remember him just because he was literally like the best Pee Wee football player I've ever seen in my life.
Where'd he go to college?
New Mexico, I think.
It's kind of a ways. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
He was on. Sorry to interrupt again. He was on the David Stills Red Line teams, Red Line Christian Academy.
Oh, okay. Okay. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the XFL. I love the idea of another football league. Gotta support it. WVU, Oliver Luck is involved. Pat McAfee's involved. A lot of WVU connections. So I gotta support it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, I'll support football anytime now. What I'm really hoping doesn't happen, because it happened with the AAF?
Yeah.
The quarterbacks were just no good, so it just made it like if your quarterbacks both suck and you're not pushing the ball down the field, it's not a good product.
I enjoyed the alliance. I enjoyed it. They let the guys play football, but yeah, the quarterback play was bad. I remember they had a Birmingham team, and that was my team, and I cheered for Birmingham.
Iron.
And yeah, the Birmingham Iron, and they just fed the ball to Trent Richardson, and he I think led the league in touchdowns, but he averaged like 2.8 yards per attempt. So I'm hoping the XFL is a little bit better than that. I think it can work. It's been thought out. It has a great broadcasting rights with Fox and ESPN. Oliver Luck is a very smart guy.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. They have smart people doing it. So honestly, dude, if they can go out there and put it doesn't even have to be good. I'll
say this right now. I think the quarterback play in the XFL is already better than the AAF, than the Alliance.
Guaranteed. Yeah. They actually have some former pro quarterbacks, but I think it's really cool that I love the fact that they put something in their CBA that, the NFL can't pluck players, because then it's like, okay, like as soon as there's an XFL star, they're just going to pluck him and he's going to go to the NFL. I'm glad that they can't do that because it's going to keep the league.
I think it's the other way around.
What do you mean?
I don't think the XFL can pluck NFL players.
No, that might be true, but I know that NFL cannot take XFL players to other countries.
Maybe during the season when their contract is up, that's a different story.
Exactly.
Okay, now I think we're on the same page.
But I'm saying you can't just because I remember saying damn, that's actually something that might keep that league in check. Like if the player's actually really good, he's going to stay in the XFL at least for that season.
I did a project on the XFL, and one of the things that they did say was they will not go after top tier NFL free agents.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. And they don't have the money. I think the salary cap in the XFL is like $4 million. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm going to watch, though. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to it. I love football. Like I said, I'm leaning New York Guardians as my team. I love the black and the gray and the red color scheme. I know what we were going to talk about. CBA, NFL, and NFLPA have one more week. No, I'm sorry, not one more week. They have until March 18th to get a deal done for the new CBA, which runs out in 2021. I don't think it's going to happen, James. I don't know about you, but I think we're due for another lockout. That was the talk 2 years ago, was another lockout's going to happen. But I think there has been some positive talk, especially during Super Bowl week, that there has been some positive momentum. I know what it is. I think that they have one more week of negotiations, and then the NFLPA has until March 18th, I think, to accept it or decline it.
Somebody just almost killed themselves in front of me. What'd you say?
I said I think the NFL and the NFLPA have one more week of negotiations. Then it goes to, they have a month to decide, and then it goes into, then they have a year until it runs out and they can't do anything about it.
I've heard they're fairly optimistic, and I'm hoping that's true, man.
That's the talk, is that they're both fairly optimistic, and that was not the case 2 years ago. I think they are making some positive ground. It's going to
have to be give and take, man. I mean, yeah. It really is. The owners are going to have to budge. The players are going to have to budge. So I really do hope that's the case, man, because the NFL, it's not like the MLB or like basketball where you get these 15-year careers with regular. Yeah. Like, dude, if you sit out a season or two in the NFL, like, you're done, dude. You're just done. You're not even. You'll never make that money up. You'll never They already don't make enough money, not enough. They already don't make as much money as other sports, is what I meant to say. So it's just
I want to go ahead and say I hate that argument because the NFL has 53 guys on the roster. They got to.
No, I know why. I know why. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're going to have to make some concessions on the player side because it's like, dude, I can't sit out a year of football and not get paid. I mean, I don't make. You know what I mean? Like, I only made $8 million. But, I only made $8 million last year. That's not going to last me and my family forever. I got to, blah, blah, blah. Or, one of those low-level players, the special teams players who only make, $850,000 a year. Like, I don't know, man. I hate saying only because it's so much fucking money.
Yeah, that is a fuck ton of money. How do you feel, one of the topics that's going to be voted on here shortly is a 17-game season. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
You don't like it? It's just a weird number. I feel like 16 is perfect, but... listening to people, it sounds like it's gonna go to 17 games.
And you know what? I won't be like, dude, that's an extra football.
Exactly.
I'm sick. I'm not. But at the same time, like you said, it's a weird number. I like that the season split almost, not almost, it could be split into quarters, and you could look at it like that and things like that. I mean, but if you're going to, take away, dude, I hate preseason football. I actually would prefer if they didn't have preseason games at all, just joint practices. So, the fact that they're going to
exactly joint practices. I don't get why they just don't do that. I've always hated the argument that they need the preseason games to determine who's going to make the roster. If you can't figure that out, you have no business being in the league.
Exactly. I could not agree more, dude. You should know from practice. I mean, come on, dude. And plus, you can't even really evaluate in preseason games. I mean, when it's
no one's trying.
Your fourth string running back just broke a tackle on a fourth string linebacker. What is that actually telling you? It's not
I would say just have, I don't know how many joint practices, 4, 8, I don't know, just a cross training camp. If you want to keep it with local teams, for instance, if Green Bay just played their NFC North opponents, maybe go to Indianapolis or, someone fairly local, Kansas City.
Cleveland, something like that, yeah.
I'd be totally fine with it. Maybe air it on NFL Network. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want. But I'll tell you right now, the 17-game season, I'll tell you how it's going to go down. I think, no one's really talked about it, but I think it's going to be 8 home games, eventually, not right off the bat, but 8 home games, 8 away games, and 1 international game for every single team.
Yeah. Yep, agreed. I think you're right. I do think you're right.
It just makes it easier instead of a 16-game season where you got to give up. Some teams got to give up a home game to play internationally, which they don't want to do because that affects their revenue. Most teams want to give up a road game, get that 17-game season.
It just affects their chances of winning the game in general, too. I mean, you want it you're technically the home team, but if you're playing in London, I mean, it's not a home crowd. It's not.
Yeah.
And people who've never played football don't realize, dude, home field advantage is, it is a much bigger deal than you think it is. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, in a football game, when you start piling on somebody at home, you're done. You're like an unstoppable force. And, when you make a big play, when you're down and you switch momentum because the crowd, it's very important. So, yeah, losing a home game, I think, is not good. So if they can, send every team to Mexico or
if that's what they want to do, which it seems like Goodell wants to do that, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad move. It's more revenue. Or a different way to get revenue, I should say. I think it's a good idea. I know the players hate it, and I don't really love international games, but it's just something different, and I totally get why they want to do it.
No, exactly. That's exactly how I put it.
But yeah, they just got to make it more player friendly. Give them I'd keep it like it is, probably. Give them the week off after so that they can readjust to the jet lag. I don't know about the week of, maybe. I don't know. Keep it the way it is. I don't know. Keep the games on Sunday. But exactly. And I wouldn't do crazy time zones. I wouldn't play a game in China where they're a whole day pretty much ahead of us.
Yeah.
And weird hours of the day. I'd love to keep it in North America. Most of the games in North America, I almost said Canada, London, whatever. But although London, obviously, I know is not North America. But that's not that far ahead though. It's just 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. It's doable. Especially if you play a night game there, a 1 o'clock game there, and it's just like playing a night game here. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Then I would go to 17 games. I would increase the player revenue or the revenue sharing amongst teams. NFL has the lowest. I'd go above 50%. Try to go 52, 55%. That's more money in the players' pockets. And then international games, new way of revenue. More money in everyone's pockets. It's a win-win for everybody. I feel like. And I would also incorporate an extra bye week.
Yeah, I agree. When you told me that, I was like, okay, that makes a little more sense. Players might go for that.
Get rid of 2, maybe 3 preseason games, and give 2 or 3 bye weeks. I don't really care.
Agreed,
all right, man. My man, I know you just pulled up to your home. I don't like you podcasting from your car. I feel like one day you're going to get in an accident, but...
I'm good with it, but you're right. I mean, I try not to, but it's just the most convenient time during the week, unless it's lunchtime, because it's like when I have a free 45 minutes and I'm not with my girl.
We need to get back to when you had a laptop.
Yes, I know. I 100% agree. I honestly don't have one right now. So
I know. I remember you used your girlfriend's.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm sorry, your ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later. Text me if you have any info.
Hang on, real quick. I want to add one more thing. We're gonna do something different now with this podcast.
Okay.
James, we're getting older. We got to keep our minds sharp. Word of the day, infantilize. Infantilize. It's a verb meaning to keep or to make or keep infantile. We're going to start doing these word of the days.
Word of the day. All right. All right.
Infantilize.
I'm going to get you one next time. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you.
All right, later.
Later, man.